Okay, so this is exactly where we left off, if you recall. And so what I have here, and I'll just step you guys through it, because we're going to change the formatting. This is designed for a very simple setup at the moment, and it probably will help if I move this over to here for you guys. So what I have currently is I have my data access. Let's start at the top. So I have these library files. This PHS library, this is actually like a core file, and this contains just my base files. So in here I have like a model base. And these just have basic properties that any entity is going to be having. I'm using Entity Framework as my object relational model in this. So that's using SQL Server. And then that's why I'm in anything that is inheriting from model base. It's an abstract class. That will be an entity. Additionally, I have requests, so a request base for any sort of a request which will be going from the server as also to the clients. And one of the games that we have on the overlay is actually going to be... it's like a boxing game that uses the website to actually play the game. So if you wanted to play, and then it'll interact with the stream. And so that'll be sending data, I think, back and forth either with TCP or we'll be using REST API, which is I'm building a web API service in here as well. And request base are used to send information. Also have a response base in here, which has just the basic response properties, including the HTTP status code of whether the response and the request was sent successfully, or if there was a conflict. There's a myriad of them out there. Additionally, the message, if there's a unique message, a unique ID to represent that response, as well as a timestamp. Finally, we have view models for anything that is different than what would be inside of the regular. Like, let's say, for example, that I have a web application and I want to send data from the database to it. I don't necessarily want to send every property, so I make a view model of the properties that I'm interested in, and then I'll send those instead. Think of beauty, this code. Are you into this, Skyway? Well, we're going to change this today to actually make it an enterprise level application. Right now, this is very, very, very simple. And I usually start projects like this for tutorials because they're simpler. So also here, I have then on top of this, say my first module, which is authorization module. So that means user accounts. So if I look here at my models, I've got a user account here. This is the user ID from the ASP.NET table, as well as a number of clients. A client should be referred to as an application. So if you think of my OAuth 2.0 server out there, it's going to both have applications that are registered to it so that when you log into it, it ensures that you're registered to that application before it grants credentials. So clients represent applications in the world of OAuth 2.0, and that's essentially what we're capturing here. Again, this is inheriting from model base, so this will be going directly into my SQL server. Same with client, which has a int to a client ID, a secret, which is only known to the developer and then will change. And if you've done any development with Twitch or any OAuth services, Google, you're probably familiar with the client secret model. We also have a client name that we put in here in the last time, a description, a refresh token lifespan, the origin location that the URL can come to, and so that comes from code authorization flow, and we'll show that when we get just a little bit farther. I'll go through the protocol with you guys. And then additionally, we have the final client. And then also the refresh token, which is what any other users are going to receive. Sometimes this may include a... looks like I didn't bring in all of my different models here, but that's okay. And then I started to actually build my data access layer last time. So again, we have the same idea here with these base contexts. This isn't going to work as an abstract. This is essentially going to define what tables go into my database. So if you look here at the authorization module version of it, you can see that I'll be adding in this accounts, clients, and refresh tokens tables into the database. And if you guys are unfamiliar with any of this, my first video goes through this in extensive detail. We actually typed all this out. I'm just kind of going over it real quick. And so a lot of times your data access layer comes in a variety of flavors. You could hook it up to SQL Server, you could hook it to MySQL, you could hook it to Postgre, you could hook it up to like Mongo, whatever, right? So this one is Entity Framework. So we have a context base. We have this generic repository that has an interface, which is easier actually to look at the interface for this one. Actually, iRepo generic should not have an interface. Fascinating. That's incorrect. We need to get rid of that. Where T entity is a type of model base. Okay? And so essentially this holds reference to my direct database functions. So I have a get, I have a get async, I have a get by ID async. Async means it's asynchronous, so it doesn't block the thread while it's waiting for a response from the server. Is exists by ID, and then also simple inserts, deletes, and updates. So if you're familiar with the unit of work model, that's the reason why I'm encapsulating this into this generic. So I can create this unit of work base. And a unit of work base is disposable so that I can get rid of it as soon as that I've used it. And then additionally, it has my save changes and my save async. So that allows me to create what's called a services layer, right? And a services layer is sort of, if you want to consider it like my air traffic controller of all my data. So it's going to be actually using this auth unit of work that was created before up here in the data access layer. It'll be injecting it. Looks like I have it injected here into the base. And that's all this one has, is just injecting the correct base class of the unit of work. And so this will be able to pull in data from all different sources. So this service auth module will be what any client application can import, and then it will issue HTTP calls over to the web API, so to say, so that if you wanted to interact with Pixel Horror Studios infrastructure, you would not be required to you wouldn't have to type everything up yourself. You could automatically link to the Swagger that's up on the web API, but in our case, we're just going to be able to use these functions. You can bring in this CLR, common language runtime DLL here into your project, and then you can use them anywhere. I know even in Cold Fusion, you can pump these things in and use them. So we're going to pick back up on our data access layer and continue to build where we left off. So let me see here. Well, first things first, let's go ahead and start to actually make this into a real project. So the first thing is that I need to create a new folder here, and we're going to call it core, and we're going to call it domain, and then we're also going to have another one here called modules, and then we'll have another one in here called clients. Oh my god, what's all this about? Well, again, clients represent client applications, so our MVC actually represents the client application here. And then we'll want to come in here and change the name of the project here to be... Actually, I'm okay with it like that, okay? And now on our core, core represents anything that should be in each and every one of our modules. So that would be our classes, our base classes. So this one we're going to have a data access layer, it looks like. It looks like I know I'm going to have like a business logic layer in here. I know I'm going to have a library in here. So let's bring in the data access layer, not that one, this one here. And this one we actually do want to change this. So I'm going to come up here and I want to change my PHS DAL in this project to be phs.core.dal. Let's go ahead and run this. And then we'll change the name of the assembly. And then also here. Okay, that one's done. All right. Remember, if you guys have any questions, please pop them into the channel, and make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. All right. So let's see. On my library files, my base library file goes here. This one also needs to be changed out to core, right? Oh, crap. Okay. And then we'll come over here and look at this, and then we're going to change this to be, change this PHS lib to be PHS core lib in my current project, replace all. That was fun. We changed the name of the assembly already, good. Okay, now over here, my modules, I believe I'm going to have something called auth. And now in here, I'll have my, again, data access layer, and then my library file. And we should call these libs. And that means that in this, okay, that's looking a lot better, right? And now also in my service, it looks like I'm going to have in my core here something called a base service. Sorry, just a service. And then we need to change this one here as well to be my core. like that. And then additionally, we need to change that here inside of the project itself. All right. And then this one comes down here and goes, and goes into a new folder here, which we're going to call my service. And I'm setting this up because I need to commit this over to my Git, and I'll show all that, as well as, why don't we go over here before I get too far ahead. And this is my Jira. Not sure if you're familiar with Jira, but this is my Kanban board for the PHS project. So our first task, which we're working on right now, and I host this myself up on AWS, which is probably why it's slow as crap right now, because I haven't used it in some time. And let's see, what are we doing here? We're going to say restructure project to domain-driven design. We can come down here. We'll assign this to me. And then we'll start the time tracker on it. In progress. Is my tempo broken? Oh, that's super annoying. I'll have to pay for tempo. Maybe. Timesheets. I don't see where my tracker is. Tempo tracker. Whatever, that'll be fine. Quarter more second. Stupid. Create subtask, attachments, descriptions, whatever. I'll fix this one after the fact to get my timer in here, but we'll just start recording my time manually. So we'll go to my notepad and we're going to say that I'm starting here at 11 o'clock a.m. on 8/12. Okay. Beautiful. Okay, so we're in pretty good shape all around here. My library auth, that looks all right. These modules are going to be just fine the way they are. So I think that at this point, I'm mostly set up. So we do need to have in here one more project. That looks right. And that looks good. We're going to need to have another module in here called Twitch. And then actually, I think it's going to be called alley.chat. And then we're going to have in here two projects, two other modules, one which is my Twitch bot, and then another one which is my Discord bot. And we'll be adding in additional RSS services as we go. And then here in my modules, we want to add in here my games. And then we can add in my hungry zombie. All right. So let's come back down and go to my MVC is good, libraries are good, these things have been changed. We need to build the project, and then let's go do a manual restructuring of this because the folders are messed. This will just take a second. Okay, so here we go, because then we'll commit this up to my Git. So we're going to do a domain, a core, a modules. And then in here we had alley.chat. And then we had a Twitch, Discord. And then down here we'll have a auth module. And we'll have a games. And this one will have in it a hungry zombies. What's that R all about? Okay, come back down to PHS and we'll start to separate. So this one, my data access layer here, goes into core. Like that. Where's my package name? Looks like PHS core DAO. That looks right. Okay, my next one was my auth DAO. That goes here into my module. That's it for DAL. Now we need to do our libraries. So this one, core, goes into this one. And there's two actually in here, right? There's going to be this phs core.lib. Like that. And then I know we're going to have another one called phs.core.lib.models. Okay. My next one here is going to be services. I think we're just calling it service. And then also we have one here called BLO. So in my libraries, this is my library auth. Let's go back over here to the modules and add this into my auth. So this one's called my DAL. And again, we have another one here called lib. Okay. That's good. Let's get rid of this. My MVC just goes into my clients. And then my service here, I have two. This is my base core one. Like that. And then also this one is my auth one. So we can actually pull this whole thing, bring this over into my modules, come in here and go to my service. We also need to add in a BLL. Okay. And then we're going to paste in that service there. This is again core. Let me just double check one more time on my structure. So we have clients, which has my MVC in it. It's one too many. Okay. That's fine. Okay, core has my business logic layer. Core isn't in there yet. This one needs to have another layer in it. It's called my phs.core.dal. I knew that looked funny when I did that. And we'll drag that in. My libraries look good, and then my services look good. Domain, nothing in domain at the moment. Modules, Ali Chat, Discord, good. We don't have anything in those yet, but my, okay. This one needs to have another, nope, that's perfect. That's perfect. And that's, Let me just double check now on that service, core service. Okay, we're good. So let's go ahead and fix our solution, and then we're going to commit that up to Git. Welcome, guys. In case you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. We have a really active and supportive community. Make sure you click the follow if you haven't yet, and please check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. All right, so my project references are going to have gotten screwed. So let's go ahead and fix this. So we'll just go ahead and strip everything out here. We'll start with the core module. Okay, we need to add in my libraries. Hey there, SC Zorro. Thank you for that host. With one viewer. If you have any questions, pop them into the channel. Make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And yeah, off we go. All right, so here in streaming here, I have my core lib lib. We want to do my core lib. This one here. My models project currently doesn't exist, but we'll add it. We need to add my data access layer and then also my service. Okay, let's rebuild it. We can close this core module out now. Everything had a couple of errors, so where's my error list? Okay, we're just going to need to add references here. And that'll do it. Okay, so that's our core module as we've been rebuilt. We'll get the MVC here in just a minute. Ali.chat doesn't have anything, but we do have a couple of things for my auth. So down here under my modules, under auth, we're going to add my library file. phslib auth already exists. So did I add the wrong one? Oh, load failed. Let's try it again. Modules, library, auth, library. Okay, we need to add in my data access layer and also my services layer. Auth, data access layer there. And then additionally here, my service. Okay, I think that is as far as we got last time. I need to add in my MVC and then commit. And we also probably want to add in my domain code first context. I'll explain that in just a second. So let's come back over here to my modules, to my PHS, to my clients, to my MVC, and bring that one in. Then we need to clean solution. We'll probably need to update all packages. Remember, that's from the NuGet package manager, which is similar to the NPM for Node. Okay, we have a few references we got to fix. That'll fix most of them. This thing's going to say that we need to update the packages on this phs.mvc, so I'm okay with that. So again, the command here is update package, reinstall, project name, so it doesn't do everything, phs.mvc. How you guys doing out there? Take just a minute for this to complete. There it goes. All right, just another second while that finishes. All right, sorry about that. Okay. Working away, listening to you, says Skyway Interactive. Thanks, man. Sorry about the no music. This is because this one's going up on YouTube. File, bootstrap min already exists. Do you want to overwrite it? We don't need to overwrite anything if it already exists. Oh, look, all the references are broken. Sucks. But there's nothing actually in this MVC yet. So it's probably easier at this point just to remove it and add a new one. So let's just do that. We're going to add a new project here. Believe it or not, this is easier because we haven't done anything to that MVC. So we'll go to my web, we'll create a new web API .NET framework, and we're going to dump this here into my clients, into here. And then we'll just say phs.mvc. We'll add it, MVC4 project, and then again we need to say that we want the web API with no web forms. I guess we'll add tests, why not? And then we'll change my authorization to be individual user accounts. And then I'll be changing that out with the web API calls. All right, that's looking pretty good. Let's make sure our project builds. We'll commit to Git, and then we can really start the work for today. Excuse me. All right, we got a couple of errors here. It's going to be pretty easy to correct these. Oh, crap. It's because there's no iRepo generic anymore, is there? And also the namespace changed. Okay. This is just because we changed those namespaces. Just take a second here. Looking good. Looking good. Looking good. That's why we're getting the errors on the context. Let's fix that. There's no iRepo generics anymore. We don't need those because the service layer and the unit of work are both disposable. And that will cover it. Just a few more. Looks like both of these need to go. That's fine. That's fine. Last one. And then this says that it can't find anything to overwrite, which is BS. Okay, so now we're good. Let's go ahead and build it. Rebuild is successful. All right, so now time to go down to our Git. Okay, so this is what I use. I use Git extensions. We need to clone a repository, of which I currently don't have. So let's go make our repository. I'm good to go here. Oop, just a second. I need to log in on a different account. Just 1 second here. We're not on a break. Just 1 second. All right, now we're good. Sorry about that. Okay, so let's come back over here. And what we want to do is we want to take a look at my your starter project. So this project is going to be called my PHS. It's going to be private because we don't want anybody else to see it. We're going to add a repository, call it Visual Studio, and we'll add a license to it. We'll probably add this MIT license. Okay, I guess I didn't add a description to it, but that's okay. So let's clone this. And then we're going to bring my Git here into repository to clone. And then we're going to put this here into my companies, Pixel Horror Studios, Visual Studio Projects. I like this. So we'll just put this right here. Okay. It's going to be a personal repository. We're going to clone it. Remote repository not found. Oh, crap. Well, we're going to have to do Git after the break because I have to clear a Windows credential because Git extensions only allows one login at one time. So we'll do that in a little bit. But our repo is nearly up. It's enough for me to get started. So let's pick up right where we left off, okay? So if I look back over here at my core, at my modules, my auth, I was building this service module here, right? Which has my Git account and my Git async. Okay, so I'm passing in here a unit of work for my type auth, right? And so why don't we take a look at what we get with that? So we get unit of work as, oh, I don't remember. It's unit of work auth, like that. And then let's see, we get my accounts, my refresh tokens. So when we do a Git account, what we actually are going to be passing in is a username and a password, right? So now when I do this, then I think I have something in here under my accounts called Git. Okay, so when I look at accounts, wrong one. Under my repo account, I believe that I have a reference to my, I have an overridden version of this here in my auth, right? Remember we overrode that, which gave me this secondary insert here. So now what I can do is I can actually bring in my other pieces here, which I remember we overrode in my context for auth, these ones. And we're going to use dependency injection to inject them here. IPHS role manager, call this my role manager, and IPHS user manager, call this my user manager. If you recall, we overrode these, I think, in my Unity container, which we'll have to re-add here. We'll have to re-add in my dependencies. So we're going to come back down here to my Jira. We're going to add in a new little task, and we're going to say add in classes for dependency injection into Unity inversion of control container. All right, go ahead and create that. We'll put that over here and select it for development. Okay. So when I insert this, we're going to, oh, we don't have this. We have a get, right? So we're going to have a public. Now I could override that get, but I don't want to. What I'm going to do is I'm going to make a new virtual void, and I'm going to say my get user. I want to pass in my string username and my string password. I guess it's going to be called get account, right? So now when I look at this, when I look at this, what we're going to say is that we're going to say if, in fact, my string.username, I'm sorry, is null or white space of my username, or if it is not string.is null or white space of my password, and this is actually an and. So if my password and my username are both not null, then what we want to do is we want to return, we want to await on my user manager. Okay, so we don't have user manager assigned, right? It didn't come in here. So we need to add in here a new protected PHS role manager. And then also we're going to have this protected PHS user manager. So down here, we need to assign them. Okay, that looks pretty good. And then here we're going to do okay, so in my user manager, remember that this is an override. This is actually overriding this user manager of identity user. So what we need to do is we need to make sure that we have our correct functions in here. And the ones we want here at the moment are here, create async. These ones, we want these two create asyncs, create identity async we don't care about, and we also probably want to get, let's start here. So I'm going to pull this over here for a second. We're going to bring in my, into my PHS user manager. We want to bring in these. Don't worry about that. That looks good. We need to bring in the correct references here. And then also, this is not like this. This is going to be a identity user. Just still using this. And then this one needs that. And then this one also is an identity user. Let's see. We also needed to have a find, right? So when we look back down here, we have our find async. Find by ID, find by name. So let's bring these ones in. So let's go ahead and kill this stuff. We need to get rid of these public virtuals. Remember that this is going to be an identity result. Okay, and find async. We're going to have find async with a username and password. We're going to have a find by name async. We want that one. We also want to have a find by ID. We don't care about this one. And this one's going to be a string. Okay. And remember that if this, in fact, doesn't cause an error, then it is overriding correctly. Not overriding, but interfacing correctly. So we're good there. So back over here in my service auth now, I should be able to come into my auths and go, oh, this. Okay, so repo generic, remember, this is for everyone, but we're overriding this, so we actually have repo auth here. Isn't that what that was called? My data access layer here? Repo accounts, I'm sorry. Because each entity gets its own account. And then I think we're going to write this out to the database. Okay. And then let's track this one in and bring this into accounts there. And now that'll expose the correct function here, which is my it's this one, sorry. This is my get, so this is going to be my find by name. And we want to definitely pass in the username and then also a password. I don't think we want this one. I think it's called find async. That one. And then this actually needs to be returning an identity user, right? No. Because we want it to return an account, so all of my dependencies do not need to have the entity, identity, class, library stuff in them. Like that. Oh, and this needs to be marked an asynchronous method that returns a task. And this is an identity result. Okay, else we want to get the same result, except it's only going to be from the username. This is I need to grab an account without having to have a password as well as to validate this. So that looks pretty good. And now what we want to do is we want to, well, hold on one second. Yeah, because that's going to be getting the correct account for that. Okay, so now if my result is equal to, if result succeeded, then what we want to do is we want to grab my account. So var account equals my await. And now it's going to be my unit of work. I'm in repo account, so it's going to be my context as I context auth dot, and then it's going to be my accounts dot find where the user ID is the same. So that we could do that. So right here, we're going to do my where. Oh, and the reason we're not getting that is because I don't have a reference to link. Now we do. S where, and remember these are called lambda expressions. S where my user ID is equal to my result dot. Second. Well, let's just go ahead and have this return my task of my identity user. Like that. We'll get rid of this. And now I want to go actually look, because I think my interface is wrong. That'll fix it. Make my head bleed, says Patrick. Are you enjoying this, Patrick? I remember spending 2 days teaching you Link and Lambda. Oh, yeah. Way back when, man. Way back when. All right. Identity user. Is this not overriding correctly? Hold on. That's fine. So let's just return this now. And we'll call this my get user. And this probably doesn't need to be publicly exposed. And that's how we'll leave it, okay? So then we need to have another one, which is going to be called my... Let's see here. So that's to get a user. And then we also want to be able to get it by the user ID. So let's grab this again. And then we're going to say get user again. We're just going to be doing this with my user ID. And we'll just do if my user ID does not equal null. Then what I want to do is I want to find this, find by ID, and that should take a string, and it does. And this will be called my result, right? Because we're going to, now we're going to say we're going to return my result dot is succeeded. Oh, crap. So we're going to say return if result is equal to null. Then what we want to do is, I think that there's another way to do that. Well, we could just do this. Okay. That's looking pretty good. You've definitely come a long way since then. Your structure is good. Your syntax is spun sub-out on. Someone's been reading. Just been doing this for work. Okay. I guess I teach a lot as much as I can too. Try to answer questions. Definitely the Twitch stuff has helped. If you guys like the channel, click the follow if you haven't yet. Make sure you join us at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. We've got a really active and supportive community. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. All right. So our next one here is that we need to actually create a user, right? Remember, users are not accounts. Users are, we're using the identity system within ASP.NET MVC4, or just ASP.NET, because we'll be the same one for the web API. So here we're going to add in a public async virtual, and it's going to be called my task of my identity user. It's going to be called create user. And we also want to do this with a string username and then password. Oh, nobody yelled at me. I have to add async to the ends of these. Okay, so now what we want to do is we want to check to make sure that this user does not currently exist, right? So now if my get user async, and we want to pass in here just my username and then my string.empty, because that's going to check to see if there's nothing in there. Check to see if the username is available. And now what we want to do is equal to null, and this will return the null there. And then I guess what we want to do here is we want to do my identity user. And I guess all we want is my username is equal to my username. Because then here, I think we do my user manager dot create async, and it's going to pass in this user and then also a password. So here, oh wait, and if my string, so let's do that down here. And if my, it's not string dot is null or white space of my username, and then also, and, oops. And the string null dot is null or white space of my password. Like that. Okay? Hey, official Zombo, welcome to the channel. How are you doing today? If you have any questions, pop them into the channel. Make sure that you check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And yeah, off we go. So we're creating this here, which is going to be a wait, right? I think that this returns a user, right? Yeah, it returns a result. So if the result succeeded, then I think what we want to do is do we want to return the user? I don't think so. We're just going to return this bool. So we're going to do this as a false, and then we're going to do a return here. Okay. Looks good. So we have our C, our U of CRUD. I guess we'll also need to have an update user, right? So let's do that. Protected async virtual task of bool called delete user async. And we're going to pass in a user ID here. So now we're going to say var user equals await, and then we want to do my user manager dot find by ID async user ID. If my user is not equal to null, then we want to do my user manager dot. I guess I don't have it in there. So we need to come back here and look for it. It's called delete in the user manager. Delete async. Fuck. Pardon me. Goes here. We want it to be a result, and this is going to be an user ID. Right? Or is it an actual... I think it's an identity result. So let's just do an identity user. Pretty sure it's this. Let's give it a whirl. Okay, that looks pretty good, right? So this is going to return the result again, and just like before, we're going to do a return the result dot succeeded. Okay? And then down here, we're going to say return false. And then I guess we'll also need to have an update, right? Why virtual? That does not make any sense. Virtual is so that anytime if I wanted to come in here later and override my repo accounts with another one, just like how I'm overriding my repo generic, that I can come in here and override these. In repo generic, you'll see that I have a bunch of virtuals already in here that I can override if I want, but my repo generic I want to be able to use for a lot of my different entities, so I'm really trying not to mess with that so much. Let's fix some naming conventions that I don't like. That looks pretty good. Okay. Here, we need to have my protected async virtual, and we'll say this is a task of my bool, which is called update user async. And we're going to pass in here a whatever my parameters are going to be. So we want to get my user ID. I guess we'll also have a user email. And then I think that that's all we really need at this point. So we're going to say var user equals await, and we want to get from my user manager the, well, let's do a await get user async, take advantage of the things that we've already written. Okay, and now if my user does not equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to do my user.email is equal to my email. My user.email confirmed is no, and then we want to do a, I guess, so that it would be a bool, right? Bool email confirmed, right? Which means that they've confirmed their email address after the two-step, and so we can assign it here. And then we should be able to await in my user manager dot, and then we should have something called an update here, and I don't. So let me come check out where it is. We want to go to my role. Oh, wrong one. Sorry. This one. And then we want to come on down to user manager, and then we want to go to user manager again, and then we should have something here called an update. Update async. And then this one we want to be as identity user, I believe. Okay, and then we can close that one out here. Oh, crap. Okay. Here. Update async, and we want to pass in my user. This is going to be returning that result. Sorry. And then we want to return the result dot succeeded. And then this one will return false. So that's just to hook to my identity system, right? Okay, so what I want to do now is I guess I want to come take a look at my database. And you can see that currently I think I cleared the database for this tutorial, and I did. Let's go ahead and close all of these. And let's go ahead and publish what we currently have out there. So what I want to do is I want to create a new domain level project, and we're going to call this code first. Nope, we don't want to do that. We could just put it right in the domain folder. And we're going to come in here and we're going to make a new project, and we're going to call this it's a C# class library .NET framework. And we want to put this inside of my domain, and we're going to call this my phs.domain.code first. And what this is going to do is that this is actually going to be my context. Oops. And so that way I can move each one of my other contexts to be what's called a bounded context. And I'll show what that means here in just a moment. And this is to scale this for enterprise level. So this gets pretty fun. So we want to do this as a database context, but that's actually not going to work because it needs to be an identity database context of my type identity user. And that is to match over here inside of my auth module. If you look at the context, of my user manager. This is wrong. This is coming from my identity DB context of type identity user. This is like, what the heck? Okay. So now what I can do is I can take all my model overriding and my functions, and we want to move this down here into my code first domain level structure. I have to go for a bit. We'll be back in 30 minutes or so. Virtual allows a method to be overridden. All right, buddy. Sounds good. I'll see you in a little bit. Let me add this reference here. And actually, I don't want to do it like that. Let's add in my code first. I want to add in my managed packages. Let's add in entity framework and then also identity. And then identity I usually do through the manager, so we'll come down to the domain, and it's a install package, and then it's a microsoft.aspnet.identity.entity framework. We should be able to grab a reference to these accounts already. And then also this DB model builder we should be able to grab, and then also now this entity and this identity. Okay? And I believe that that's my only module that I currently have written, which is perfect. And now I got to come up here and grab this reference. So we want DDD context bounded C#. Because we need to change the default initializer on these contexts, which is happily provided for me here. Right here. So I just take this little initialization off my domain-driven, my domain, whatever that was, the bounded context reference. There's really only one out there, and I can put that link up if you guys are interested in it. And so now what I need to do is paste my base context here into, that's fine. I want to go to my core, under my data access layer, under my core, under my base, and then right here we'll just paste it. Let's format it. Oh, well, it's all screwed up. Base context is going to be called context base. It's going to have a DB context on it. Well, it doesn't have this, but what it does have is a static. Was there a public on that before I deleted all that nonsense? No. So it's just like this, and this is called context base. And then this is going to be of my type just a moment. Now, I believe that when I looked at this, let me pull up my Notepad++. Let's pull up that reference again. DDD bounded context. Sorry, that was the term I was looking for. This is the reference document. It's at the very bottom of it. She has it here, where this is inheriting from a type of context. So what you have to do is you need to come in here and this context base here, you're in the wrong class. So let's go to context base. This needs to be inheriting a T context, where my T context is a type of DB context. She wants me to do that. And then also she wants me to take this static and add this in right here. And that will fix the base constructor. All right, that's good. And then we here need to get rid of this garbage that we added in, and then let's build it. Okay. How you guys doing out there? If you haven't yet, make sure you click the follow. If you have any questions, please put them into the channel. We've got a really active and supportive community. Make sure you check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. So here, get account now. We should have it available, which is called... These are all protected still, so I don't have it exposed because this is still only getting my identity user and not my actual account. So that's fine. Let's comment this out and just have this like that, and then we should be able to clear it and then see where we're at. I want to build my database currently to where it's at. So I'm probably going to get an error here, right here, because I need to implement here. Okay, let's try building that again. Then we should be able to push out to SQL. Okay. This is going to need a few more pieces in it, which is my role manager, and then also my user manager. This cannot convert base to auth as I context auth. Okay, and now we should be able to build it. Hey there, JD0950. Thank you for that follow. If you have any questions, please pop them in the channel. Make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. We've got a really active and supportive community that we built here over the last year and a half. Current project we're working on is an ASP.NET MVC4 application along with a Windows service, which will be a scalable infrastructure for pixelhorrorstudios.com. Additionally, it's going to include a Windows service, which will be acting as an application which we've been developing called alley.chat, which will route different RSS messages, one of which will be going to the overlay that's already constructed to run the different games in anticipation of the next release of the overlay for this channel. So thanks again for checking us out. Okay. So where we're at now is that I think, because we're succeeded, I think we're ready to build this and push this out. So I want to come down and first, my code first here needs to have a public constructor in it, right? Which is going to have a base in it, and then a default connection, which is called default connection for me. Because my default connection, I believe I've already put, oh no, I don't have it. It's in my MVC, so let's set this to my startup project, and then in it, we need to add a connection string. let me grab the name of my server here. And then my initial catalog will be called PHS. Integrated security is true. And now we should be good to go. So let's come down here to the Package Manager console. We want to enable migrations for my entity framework. It's going to look for an existing database. It did not find one. Here we can seed it. So here, like for example, I could have something like a private void add admin user. And this is going to want to pass in things like this. So it shows this weird syntax add or update. I don't trust it. So here we go. If my context dot if my accounts dot, okay, so we want to do if my context dot users dot, and then we want to do where my s dot username is equal to user admin. So let's do any here. So if there's not currently in there, then what we want to do is we want to say var identity user equals new identity user. We want to add in here a username. And then also we want to add in a password equals, and now it's called a password hasher if I don't want to use the user manager, which I'm not in this case. And then I want to pass in a new GUID. So we'll just generate one here. So you have to do this. Var pass hash equals new password hasher. Var, so, and now we're going to say my, call this a hasher. Hey, Liquidor, just 1 second. Why do I always cringe when I see the context of a web.config file? Oh, because a lot of times there can be a lot of really super sensitive information in there, depending on what you're working with. But luckily, this is a brand new project, so I know there's nothing of value in there at the moment. Sometimes you can put in app keys where you have different things that you just wanted to have, like that, so that you can, for example, my OAuth key that I'll be getting from Twitch, I could put that in the web.config so that way nobody else would theoretically see it. But the more secure way would be to put it into another file and then have the web.config pull it from the other file. And then I think you can apply like RSA or PGP encryption on it if you wanted, or PNP, whatever the hell it is. Except for the stream. Yeah. Pass hash equals my new hasher dot. Verify hash password, and this one's going to be called my this thing. And then we're going to pass in pass hash. And then we're going to do a context.users.add. And then we want to use in my identity user. And then we want to do a context.save changes. We can't do a sync here. So that's just for my add admin user. Is there another thing that you want to do? We probably want to add in some roles, right? So we could do a private void add roles. Okay, so now, let me see, in add roles, we want to do, so now here, we're going to say var role equals, oh, we want to do now, if my context dot any s where my s dot name is equal to admin, then what you want to do is you want to do a context. I'm sorry, it's going to be a var role equals new identity role. Name equals my admin. And actually, I could probably save some time here. Context dot roles dot add. Context dot save changes. It's fine for me. And then down here, what we want to do is we want to do my identity user add role. Second. Well, so what you want to do is you want to have a new var identity user role, right? And there's going to be a role ID, which is my var admin role. Context dot roles dot where s where my s dot name is equal to my admin, and this is going to be my admin role dot id. Okay, and then we want to add in the ID here, right? And then the next one is my user ID, which is going to be my identity user dot ID. Then we want to add this into my var, it's my, we got my identity user dot roles dot add identity user role. And then also you need to do this on your admin role dot users dot add identity user. And then you want to do a context dot save changes async, not async. Okay. It wants an identity user role. Okay. Then we're going to save changes here. And then the final thing is we need to actually make an account. Tip, hold down control when you move sideways with your cursor on the same line, or I guess you got a strong keyboard instead. I don't understand what you mean. What does control do when you move sideways? Like, oh, I didn't know that. That's a nice way to jump through code fast. Thank you. Okay. So now my account, this one's pretty easy. It's just going to be a user ID, which is going to be equal to my identity user dot ID. Context dot accounts dot add account. Context dot save changes. AA. And that's it. Now we're seated with my roles and my admins. So now we can go ahead and we're going to add a migration. We're going to call it my init. Interesting. I didn't know about that with control. That's pretty awesome. Okay, and then we're going to update this database. And this, you can see, is the code that's generated to generate this database on my behalf. So let's do that. And the reason why I'm doing everything in a domain level context instead of using the, and then also bounded context without migrations, is because otherwise I'm not going to necessarily be able to get the foreign keys that I want, because I'll have circular reference problems because I've modularized this project. So now when we come back and we look over at the database, you could see that PHS is here, and you could see that here are my different tables, and inside you should see my account, and you should see my users. Admin, and then you should also see my roles. And there they are. So all that's working great. So now let's go back over here to my module for my auth, and I want to come back and I want to look at my service. So now what we need to do is we need to get my accounts here, right? So in here we're going to have public async virtual task of an account, and it's going to be called get account async. And that's going to be a string and a username and a string and a password, right? So now what you're going to do is you're going to first get your user, var user equals, and then you're going to do an await get user async, and it's going to be a username and then a password. If my user does not equal to null, then what you want to do is you want to do a return await context as I context auth dot accounts dot where s where my s.username is equal to my user.id. Single or default async. We need to add in a reference for this one. And otherwise, return null. Easy enough. Does your IDE have multi-cursor functionality? Try and highlight a word and push Control and double-click another word somewhere else. Nope. But I can use Alt, so I can like select multiple lines and then apply changes across them all. Control D for highlighting the next match of the current selection. You could do that by looking for references with the other one as well, with the Control D. I wonder what I don't have a Control D. I don't use that one, so apologies. Okay, next one here. We have a public account async virtual task of my account, and it's going to be called my get account async again, and it's going to be of a user ID. And so now what we're going to do is we're going to say my return. No, we want to get my var user equals await get user async, and we're going to pass in the user ID. And now if my user is not equal to null, return my context as I context auth dot accounts dot where s where my s dot user ID is equal to user ID dot single or default async. Oh, wait. Okay. There's a free visual extension for control click and multi-cursor. When used shift to select with it, it only selects where the main cursor is. There's also a better paid equivalent too. Oh, I didn't know that.
Actually don't know the most about the tools for Visual Studio. The squared selection looks funky though. When is that ever needed? Oh, I use actually that one quite a bit, Liquidor. I use the squared selection when I'm changing like a lot of different, like if I wanted to, for example, go, oh no, I actually don't want to change these. I want to change these from tasks. Then I want to get rid of these. I don't want to make them protected. And I want to make these to be like, I don't know, public. And then I can format it. Something like that. Okay, so those are looking good. I also need to have a public async virtual task of account called create account async. String username, string password. Yes, that's right. It only works if the code is aligned, and that is the bummer. Okay, so when we do this, the first thing we want to do is var user equals await get user async from my username and password. And now if my user is equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to do a user is equal to await, is equal to await create user async of my username and password. If my user is equal to null, return null. So if that is equal to false, then what we want to do is we want to get my user here. User equals await get user async, and we want to pass in my user ID, which is my username and my password. Now that we have the user, I can create the account, which is var account equals await get account async. We're going to pass in this user.id. So now if my account is equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to if my await dot create. Nope. So now what we want to do is we want to say now if it is null, we're going to say var account equals new account. We're going to say my user ID is equal to my user.id. And then what we want to do is we want to do my context. Context as I context auth. Insert, it's my accounts dot insert. Second. I'm in the repo, so it's add. Okay, sorry. And then this is going to be called my account, and then we want to await context dot save changes async. But we could do if my await changes async is greater than 0, then what we want to do is we want to return my account. Well, otherwise, we're going to return null. Easy enough. All right. Let me see. Been a bunch here. That only works if the code is aligned like that, says Liquidor. Userman2 says you can tell when someone programs a lot when they Control S multiple times in a row. Yeah, it's a habit I have too. Yeah, because it's like a emphatic, like, I finished that line. Depends. If you go to autocompiler or autocomplete and you want it to spam save. But I think under most circumstances, most people control 3 or 4 times. Hey, Jenkin Rock Round. Sorry I'm a little late to the stream. What is the difference between a user and an account? A user comes from the ASP.NET built-in identity system. And so if you're using Entity Framework, you actually have to use ASP.NET Identity Entity Framework. An account is an extension of those user tables. I never actually want to modify the identity accounts because I could go and I could get another ASP.NET application and I could just plug that one right in, assuming that I have not modified the original ASP.NET table. So my philosophy is that I extend the tables out into an account module. The account module holds reference to identity and it exposes an account which holds reference to a user ID of the identity system, so that I can extend out all I need to and just use standard entity framework without being reliant on the identity system. Liquidor says, I guess user is abstract or a component for abstracts, no idea. Wait, does that mean that the software only works on an MS platform? No, this is an ASP.NET MVC website. So I'm setting up a web API backend that will register different applications, or what we call clients. And then I'm creating an MVC, which is a web application that anybody can access. And then the web API, because everything is running through the web API, other applications that I make for iPhone, Android, for your tablets, for your PS4, all of those can interact with the REST API services. Great explanation. Thanks. No problem. If you could, click the follow, Jengus Roundrock, and make sure you join us at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. We've been streaming for about a year and a half, and since that time, we've developed a really active and supportive community. So thanks very much, guys, for the support. Why don't we go ahead and keep moving on? So we need to now also have in here a... Let's see. Well, let's just start right there, right? We have a create, we have a get. We'll never have an update because it's just for this user ID, but we will have a delete. So let's do that. Public async virtual task of account. I'm going to call this delete account async, and then most likely I'm going to modify these later and just turned in my deletes into just having an active flag that changes. So this is a user ID. And so now what we want to do is we want to get my account equals await get account of my user ID. If my account does not equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to go to my context as I context auth dot accounts dot remove account. Hey, Jengus Roundrock, thank you for that follow. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. Let's go ahead and we're going to do a context dot save changes async. Then we want to have a user equals my await get user async, and that's also going to be from a user ID. If my user does not equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to do my context as I context auth dot accounts dot delete user async user, and this will be a return await. And then this one is going to be a bool. This one wants a user ID. That's fine. And now here, we're going to return false. Okay, I think that that's pretty good here on our repo accounts. Now, we do have within, we have clients, right? And we're going to have accounts which are registered to clients. But at the moment, I think that this will work for right where we need to be. However, we don't have a way to register roles, right? So we do need to have something in here which is called public async virtual. And we're going to call this a bool. And we're going to say this a create account role async. And this one is going to pass in a username and then also the role name. And so now here we're going to do a var user await get account async of this user. Let's do this as a user ID. Keep it simple. If my user does not equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to say my role name is var role. I guess we could do it here. Var role equals await. And now it's going to be my role manager dot my role manager doesn't seem to have anything in it. Let's go fix that. Yep. So when we go and we look at where we're implementing this, we can look at our role manager and find out that it's got a, come on, where is it? This one. Create, delete, find, update. Let's get all these. Okay, I want to come in here to my PHS role manager. We want to make this one disposable. And then let's bring these things in. It's going to be a whole bunch of garbage with it. Oops, that one doesn't need to come in. Okay, now we can do that fun little trick that I showed you. We can get rid of all that. We're going to have tasks of our identity results here. This is going to be a identity role. This is a string. Good. Now back over here on this one, we forgot to do iDisposable. Okay. So now it's called find by name async, and that's going to be called your role name. If this does not equal to null, and my role does not equal to null, let's just do this. So now if my role does not is equal to null, then what we want to do is we want to do my role manager dot add, create async. We're going to make a new identity role. Name equals role name. We'll await on that. And then we want to say my role equals my role manager dot find by name async of my role name. Okay. So now we got our role here. And now what we're going to do is my user dot okay. Here, now what we need to do is that we need to I should have in here something called roles, right? Oh, it's an account, right? Okay, so what you don't have in here is you don't have a public async virtual, and now it's going to be a let's do it as a string, and we're going to call this my read get roles. Well, let's do get account roles async. And we'll pass in this user ID, okay? So now what we can do is, hey, Moobot, welcome back to the channel. It's great to see you. How are you doing? Working on my ASP.NET MVC application for the PHS infrastructure. Additionally comes with a Windows service, which will be kind of an RSS feed. It's going to be coming from Twitch as well as from Discord, a couple of other RSS sources. That'll be up there as called ali.chat, which will be up there as the on the website, kind of as a backend as a service model. So you can open up a WebSocket or a TCP stream with how you want to route your messages. And then from that, I have a fully interactive overlay that's created in Unity along with games. And the Windows service will essentially be the host for all of the data and all the routing as it goes to and from the overlay. So that's what we're getting set up today. So here we need to get my account roles here. So let's see how we do that. We're going to do my role manager dot, and now we got like a find by role. Nope, it's definitely going to be a well, let's first get our user, right? So we need to get our account. So we're going to say excuse me, if our user equals await get user async of my user ID. If my user does not equal to null, then what we want to do is I think all we're going to do is just, I think we could look at user.roles, right? And that should give me, so I should be able to do like a for each var role in user.roles. And there's my role ID.
and my username, but that doesn't quite give me what I want. So I guess I want to do an await, and then it's called a role manager dot find by ID, and then this is going to be my role ID. And so up here we can do my var roles equals a new list of my string. Well, let's just do, yeah, that's fine. So now we're going to do my roles.add, my role temp. Name. And now we're going to do a return of my roles dot to array.
Wow, so much information. Sounds very interesting.
Yeah, sorry, just kind of cranking through stuff. And now we're going to return here a string null. Well, let me do that. So, well, hold on, will it? What's the problem? Ah. That's fine, okay? You know what we forgot to do up here is we need to do a public async virtual task of my account, and it's going to be called update account password async. Okay, so how are we going to do this? So first thing we have to do is we have to make sure that we have this. Oh, it's an account password. Okay, so we're going to do var user equals await get user async of my type user ID, and then user dot. And now we should be able to do my user manager dot update. Okay, let me go look at this user manager for a minute. I'm sure there's something in here for this.
Day 2 hype, says Dateline. Hey man, how you doing? Good to see you. Welcome back.
Let me see. We need to do my update password. Hey, I didn't know there was a has password. Update password. This is an identity user. This one was a string. This one is, again, another identity user. iUser password store. What the hell is that? I might have to make that. Let's find out. Let me just check something, because I usually do this a different way. So let's do update password. Oh, and we need to come back over here. We finished this. So let's move this one over to done. And then I want to come and add to my time here. And this is going to be convert to DDD. And this one will be a finish services on auth. Okay. So now we can come in here. We need to add in a new task, and this is going to be called my finish services on auth module.
Let's assign it to me. Okay. I just want to see what they're doing here. It's this, the hell did it go? This store as iUser password store. This dot store of my application user manager. So it comes off my user manager. Okay, I'm going to pull this over here for a minute. Let's go ahead and use it. You using TwitchLib or doing the IRC yourself again? I think I'll use TwitchLib this time, but we could definitely use IRC. But then we'll be doing the routing using, I think I have a recursive TCP server and client that I like. But I also can use the TCP client and listener classes. I have those two written. And also WebSockets Sharp. So I think I'm going to be utilizing a lot of other libraries just to kind of keep this project moving quickly. So I need to get back over here to my this. So let's try this thing out here. It's going to say user manager dot var store equals, and now what this is saying is that this is actually inside of my user manager dot store as iUser password store. Let's just try this real quick. Okay, I hate everything that's happening here. We're not doing it this way. We're going to do it the way I'm used to. So we're going to say if my user does not equal to null, then what we want to do is we're going to say my user.password hash equals, and we're going to do var hasher equals new password hasher, and then we're going to say var pass hash equals a hasher dot hash password to my password. It's funny how no one actually reads the Stack Overflow questions. Everyone just jumps to the first answer. Finally, someone using a proper language. Hey there, Dev EXCR. How are you doing today? Welcome to the channel. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. Make sure you click the follow. We have a really active and supportive community, so make sure you join us at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Yeah, Stack Overflow is fun. You know, they have all this built-in store stuff, but this works just fine. Okay? And so now what I want to do is I think it's my user manager dot update. Update async user. Var result equals await. Return result dot succeeded. Like that, okay? That's looking pretty good. Now, you didn't actually create your roles, but that's okay, because this actually create account role async is going to actually also create your roles. Get account roles is fine. Let me take a look here again. We got all the way down here, which is user dot user.roles.add role. So you have to add this new identity role, right? It's going to be my user ID. And then also my role ID equals my role.id. And then you want to add this here.
And then you want to do your role dot users role dot users dot add my identity role. Sushi. Okay. And then finally, well, role is being pulled from role manager, so you should be able to update that, right? Hey, PKRKQ, thank you for that follow. Very much appreciate that. If you have any questions, please make sure that you pop them into the channel. I've got a really active and supportive community. Also, make sure you check us out at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Didn't realize Twitch had live coding here. Super interesting how people work with code. Thanks, man. Appreciate that, the interest in it. So now let's do a context dot save changes async. And we'll do an if on that, because if it's greater than 0, then we know that it was successful. So we'll do that. Otherwise, we'll do something else. But then we also should be able to do a role manager dot update async, and we want to do my identity role, which was called role. Await on that. And that's going to return this result. And my role dot succeeded. Sorry, my result dot succeeded. Then what you want to do is you want to return true. And then here you want to return false. And this needs to be a task. Okay. Now here, we also need to get roles, right? So we need to have a public async virtual task called create role. We can actually just hijack what we wrote already here. Right there. Create role. Rob, what are you using as a data layer? I'm using Entity Framework, and I'm using code first because I want to make sure that I can use the Unity container for for dependency injection. I really like Entity Framework. I like the EDMX files as well for when you have like your domain level models already constructed so that you can like pick and choose out of it. But I find that the bounded contexts and code first give me more freedom and flexibility with dependency injection. Okay. So this is going to create my role. If it doesn't exist, then you want to do this as a task of bool. So here, if this will be return false. And we'll return here. And then we're going to return the result of succeeded. Sweet. Loving it. Okay. So then down here, where we're actually doing this nonsense, like that, okay? We could theoretically need to delete a role, or we could get the roles. Public async virtual task of a string, and we're going to call this my get role name, and we'll pass in here a string ID, which is going to be called my role ID. And so now here you're going to var whatever equals an await of my context. No, you have a user manager. So you're going to do the role manager dot find by ID, and it's going to be a role ID, async, and so we'll just return that. Anything else? I guess we'll also want to have in here something called a public async virtual task of bool called my delete account role async. If, okay, var user equals await get user by my user ID. If user does not equal to null, then what you want to do is, hey there, DevXer. Thank you very much for that follow. If you have any questions, please pop them into the channel. Appreciate you guys coming checking us out. Make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. Let me see here. So now if this is null, then what you want to do is you want to say user.roles.any s where my s dot oi. Var role equals await role manager dot find by name async role name. If role does not equal to null, so let's move this here, and then and my role does not equal to null. Then what you want to do is you want to say that you want to, if there is anywhere where my s.role ID is equal to my role.id, user.roles.remove user.roles.where, we could just do a role here, right? S, nope, it's going to be a user.roles.where s is equal to s.role ID is equal to role.id dot singular default. And then also you want to do a role.users.remove user. Oh, role.users.where s where my s dot user ID is equal to my user.id dot singular default. And then you want to do a await role manager dot update async to my role, and then also you want to do an await, and that's going to be for your update user async. What the hell was that? And that's going to be your user ID. It's going to be your string. Oh. Not into how this is done. Let's straight up. All right. Screw it. We're going to do a var result. And now here you're going to say if my await of my context.save changes async is greater than 0 and my result.succeeded, then you want to return true. Okay, let me see. Got a bunch of things here. Vexter says, I haven't touched ASP.NET in so long. Might be time to look in on the new changes and updates. PPRAQ reminds me of how many things I'm looking for when looking for .NET. So many nice things.
Yeah, I really like .NET. It makes it really, a lot of things are simpler. .NET is really neat, but so much stuff is still missing when you don't really want to rely on a full .NET framework environment. Hey, Kobo, welcome. And Moobot says, by the way, Rob, you've improved your coding skills. You're doing it. Thanks, man. Yeah, I've been working a lot, pretty much all the time. So I appreciate that. If you see anything that I'm doing wrong or you have any suggestions, please pop them in the channel. If you have any questions, follow me in the channel. Click the follow if you haven't. Make sure you check us out, discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. All right. So we're looking pretty good there. So we have our account roles, we have our get role name, we have a get a role because I don't need to get anything else, and so here, when I'm, look, so I could totally overwrite this insert if I wanted, but it's all right. I think that'll be fine for where we're at. So let's come back over here, and we're going to do now a get account async, and we're going to pass in a user name and a password. So my service layer, again, it's going to also be touching the data access layer, but the reason why we have the service auth layer is that it is going to be, just a second. This is actually my data access layer services, so we need to move this. This is wrong. Let me move this up here into my new, we need to make a new folder in auth called Web API. And we want to move my DAL into here. And then also we want to move my services into here. This one. So let's make these changes. This one here is called phs.webapi.dal.auth. Let's go change it here. Change that name. And we're going to call this my service.webapi.dataaccesslayer.services.auth. Let's change the name of the assembly. And then also take this thing and modify it out with that one. Now I got to fix all those errors. What is this keyboard? This keyboard is a bloody keyboard, believe it or not, and it's a light strike. It's a little bit different. What are you trying to do at the moment, says Light Angel? At the moment, I'm finishing up my Web API data access layer and my Web API services module, and then I'll create the client application service module to interact with them, and then we'll set it up so that our Web API is working, and then we're going to integrate our authorization. We'll bring in an authorization server, and then hook up our MVC so that we're authing to a separate auth 2.0 authorization server, and so that way we can follow code authorization flow. It has its own switches, Kobo, its own switches that are proprietary to bloody keyboards. So let's go ahead and correct the rest of this now. Ooh, are you kidding me? Okay. That looks good. Let's look at our errors. We'll just have a few. No. And this one is going to my auth. So hold on one second. Am I going to view models coming out? Yes. So this needs to be returning an account view model. So this is my account, and then we're going to do a var view model equals, and now we're going to use my auto mapper to go to my account view model from my account. And then if we look here at initialize auto mapper, we need to make sure that we have my map here, which is s.createMap, and it's going to go from my account view model to account, and then also we need another one that goes to s.createMap from my account to my account view model. Okay. This is an account view model.
So now you're going to go var account, we'll say entity, equals, and you'll do a mapper.map to my account from my account view model. And now here you can insert this entity here. You're going to save the changes. If it's true, then we're going to map it back. Finally, we're going to have this update account async. So let me see what we got here. So if I await on my unit of work here, okay, so we have an update, which is already in the system. And then also we have an update password async. So I think we're going to need both of those. So let's start with this update. Update account password. Let's just leave that one. And now we want to pass over my user ID and my password. And this is going to be returning a bool. Okay. That's looking pretty good. So now that we have this service auth set up, this is set up to be on my web API side, right? Yes. So let's go ahead and try it out. Let's go ahead and extract the interface that we need on this. And this is going to be an iBase auth. I guess it's an iService base or whatever I called it. Yeah. Okay. And so now we can come over here into my MVC. Why don't we create a second project in here? I want to call it my web API. We'll just make a separate project in here in my clients. Call this phs.webapi. It doesn't need authorization. Yeah, it does. It does not currently need authorization. Let's do this and then modify it later. Okay? Just so we're safe. And we'll add in the tests. Ready? Thanks, guys, for coming and checking us out. If you have any questions, pop them into the channel. I got a really active and supportive community here. All right, so here's our web API. So let me go ahead and we're probably going to end up stripping a tremendous amount out of this thing, but maybe not because we will be using a Swagger. Well, it doesn't matter. For now, what we're going to do is we're going to add in a web API controller. Let me add a new project in here called web API. I want to add a new controller in here. And we're going to do a web API controller using read-write actions. Hold on. Okay. And I want to add in, we're going to call this controller accounts. Now, you know that these things can get scaffolded out by Entity Framework if you wanted, but what we're going to do is, well, first, it's a good practice in here to have a new class in here. We're going to call it my base controller. Easy enough. Okay. And now we have already a couple of these things set up. So what we need to do is we need to inject my interface. So if you recall, it's accounts controller, and then it was called iServices auth. So over here now, we know that each one of these is going to have a controller base with a iService base. And this is an abstract. Okay? Okay? And now that that's injected, we can actually use it. And so what I mean by that is like right here, where we're doing our get accounts, this is not an int, this is a string. We're going to change the path that this thing is routed to here. Okay? And so now I got rid of the API call in there. Make sure you guys click the follow if you haven't. If you have any questions, pop it in the channel. I got a really active and supportive community. Make sure you join us at discord.pixelhorrorstudios.com. And now finally here, when we have our get, I want to do my, that's coming in as a string. So it's going to be a await. Wait. Looks like I didn't do this as async actions. We'll just leave it like that for now. And now we're going to do my await, my service dot. Uh-oh, why don't I see anything? As iService auth. Get account async of my username and password. So we have a little trick here that I want to show you. Just a second. Because with this get, for example, I don't want to use the ID. What I'm going to do is I'm going to require you to have a token, right? And so then what I want to do is I want to do my user.identity.getCurrent ID or whatever it is. It's like get user ID. There it is. And so now I can actually down here can just override it with a user ID. All right. What's the reason for safe casting the service? You can just use it without any casting. It's coming in here as I unit of work base because it's being assigned here in the service base as a base class. So I have to specify it for me to be able to get the functions in the extended version. If you know a better way, man, let me know. Okay? This is telling me that I need to add phslib auth to my web API. We can do that. Add a new reference to phslib auth. Okay? Sorry, delay. I mean the iService auth. iService auth is also inheriting from iService base. So here, I'm passing in my unit of work, and it's being, it's being registered as my iUnit of work here. So it's only going to be referenced as this interface. You could see it's saying iUnit of work on its title. So I have to specify it, otherwise I'm unable to get my reference to my accounts. Okay? All right. So we actually don't even need this ID anymore, right? Because we're using the user ID of someone who's been registered into the account, into the system. And now, actually, believe it or not, we don't have everything we need. So we need to come back down here into my lib, and we need to go look at my view models for account. It has a user ID. Great. Do we also want it to have a username? Sure. And we'll say the username from the native ASP.NET user tables created by the identity system. And then also we need to have a response here, which is going to be called an account response. And it's going to be a public, and it's going to be inheriting from my base request, response, sorry. And that's going to be sending over my data transfer object, which we're calling my account view model.
I'm talking about your API controller, the service you get in your constructor.
Here. It's still coming in as iService base. Do you see that? And that's because I'm doing the same thing here where I'm passing in my service base here. Oh! But I can specify it right here, so I'm making sure that I'm getting the right one. And now this is going to be an account response, right? So that's an account view model. So now we need to do a return a new account response. Account equals account. So here you can actually do this as a string ID. And so now you can say now, if my string dot is empty, this one, this is to get another user. Roles equals admin. And then also we'll do a account. And then we'll say right here, and my user is in role admin. User ID equals ID. Then you're going to get this, and then now here, your response
Oh, okay, I didn't see it. No problem. I'm quite scared for the keyboard, says TS Oding. Oh, no worries. I picked one that I was making sure that I could take a bit of abuse. Hey, Peter Alphonse, welcome to the channel. It's great to see you. Why does your picture remind me of a German musician's Von Tom? I don't know who that is, so no idea.
Okay? So when I look at this response, it's not exposing these properties to me. So that means that my web API needs to be a it needs to have a reference to my phs core.lib. And so that way I can say message is string empty, and now I can say my response code is equal to http status code dot OK, and then I can say that my response code value is equal to http status code dot OK dot toString, and then here we're going to say my timestamp. I already have that one defined. This one needs to be as an integer. Okay.
I'm in your channel. Yeah, I see that, Peter. Moobot says, when you have some general base implementation that takes, for instance, some symbol, and you want to prevent casting, then you can define a generic parameter for it in the header. Oh. All right, that's a great call.
Let's see. So where my T unit of work is a type of I unit of work base. It's still showing as unit of work. Oh, wait.
I love you. I love you.
It's amazing. Let's actually go implement that in a couple more places then. So here in my core module, in my data access layer, let's go to my unit of work base, where I'm passing in this context base. We're going to say T context base, where T context base is a type of I context base or something. Thank you. Gotta love it. So here, this one's going to be my T context. I'm sorry, it's my I context auth. Amazing. Okay. Unit of work base is set up. My repo generic is set up. My context base is set up. Okay. My service is set up. Love it. Okay.
Easy enough. I need to use this approach at work all the time. Writing framework logic is what I love to do. Yeah, I usually just do the where I cast them. I hard cast them just as the as, but it's superfluous, you know. Okay, so let's add a new folder in here. Call this Web API.
And now what I want to do is I want to take a look at my Web API because I need to make sure that at the moment I have some kind of authorization. I do, and I have a token endpoint. So I should be able to get a token and then test this. Let's see. Let's go ahead and set this to my default project, and let's launch it. Build errors. Here we go. Build worked. Now it's going to launch. Hey, Peter. Yeah, there's a number. Okay, here we go. So we're currently at 54428. And remember, we do have an MVC up. So let me pull up my Postman. Do I already have this open? Because that'll cause a problem. No. All right, so we want to issue a get to my local host 54428/token. Unsupported grant type. Let's do it as a post. Let's do it as this XMM body. And we have a new key is my grant type. Password. Username is my admin. Password is my... modules to my data access layer, to my domain migration, to my ad here. All right. I guess we already get these API endpoints established in this project template. The username or password is incorrect. So what's wrong here? Did I not put this in correctly? Post accounts. Oh, all right. We're going to put Swagger on this because I am unhappy with that. Let me come back and look now. Hash password. Admin. Let me try running the database again. Here we go. All right, here we go. Okay, I'm using the NuGet package manager to update the database. Oh, crap. What it is the connection string is wrong. That would make sense, huh? Now it'll work. Cannot be null. Value? What should it be passing this as? Form data X. Five four four two eight localhost / token. So it looks like I have a little bit of a problem with my authorization. So what I think we're going to do actually is we're going to pull in a separate authorization server, and we'll do that right after the break.